Steve in Cincinnati, Mad Dog Unleashed. Stevie, good afternoon. How are you today, pal?
Great. Good afternoon. How you doing, Chris?
Fine, Stevie. Thank you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
Just a couple things. First, I just heard you say a minute ago that Steve, your colleague there, thought that a par 3 was the last hole of Augusta.
Yes, he did.
Are you just kidding, or is that?
No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Steve thought. I think it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. We were breaking down. We were breaking down the back nine in Augusta. Right before the tournament, and I said, "Give me your thoughts." And the thought I got was that that 18 is hard because it's a tough par 3. So there you go. Yes, that was discussed, and we have called him. We have called him out on it, and we'll see if Steve has learned. Steve is not going to sit there. If Steve has watched somebody hit a golf shot this year, I'd be surprised. The one thing about Steve that is a problem is that Steve, if he is not he's got his little sports that he's involved in. He loves his baseball. He loves the college basketball. He's good at the NFL. He likes that. But those other obscure sports, whether they be tennis, golf, horse racing, hockey, that's where Steve gets himself in a little trouble. And here's a perfect example. Par 3 Augusta on Sunday afternoon, and obviously there's no par 3s on these Grand Slams on Sundays. So there you go, on 18.
Well, I was surprised, and I like Steve, so, hey, nobody's perfect. But this is why I called you, Chris. I'm 63, right, brother?
Yep.
And I'm Johnny sports fan. I don't claim to be like that knowledgeable, but I know enough. So the comebacks in my lifetime for individual professional players that came to mind, I want to see what you think, is number one for sure was when Ali came back after the draft dodging, that whole ordeal after 3 years.
Right.
And I believe he beat Foreman and captured the title.
Right, he beat Foreman. He beat Foreman in '74. He came back and fought Frazier. He had a couple of fights before that, Quarry, people like that, and he lost to Frazier at Madison Square Garden, and that was for the unification of the belt. Frazier ended up later on losing to Foreman, and then Ali beat Foreman. So go ahead.
But my point was that he won the title back against.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So the second one, right, individual sports, right, was Nicholas in '86. To me, that was like had moved the needle just as much as Ali. So now watching Tiger, and as you guys were talking about it, athletes that are just unbelievable, transcending athletes. If Tiger would to come back, mind you, all the naysayers that said he never would, that's a whole topic on its own. But if he were to come back and win any major, once again, I don't know how you feel, but I would rate that as one of the largest individual athletes comeback of all time.
It's a little strong. I don't know quite if I go that far. Remember, Nicholas was 46, Tiger's 40, 41, maybe 42. Little different. So I don't know if I can. I mean, and the whole thing with Ali, no, that was I can't compare it to Ali, who didn't fight for 3 years. I can't compare it to him. But again, 4 back surgeries or thereabouts, that is pretty impressive. So, I mean, I don't know where I haven't thought about it enough. I don't know where I quite rank it, but I understand your point. Make a long story short. Here's Tony in Dallas, Mad Dog Unleashed. Tony, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Christopher, I think that what the players are trying to say, and I know you jumped on Kelly Jansen, but he did have some points, and now, with Max Scherzer, I think what the players are saying is, in an indirect way, what the fans have been feeling. And that is this. You have more than half of the franchises in Major League Baseball, which right now are non-competitive. They are a AAA team, AA players. They have seen the model, and they saw that Kansas City did it, the Cubs to a certain extent did it, and the Astros did it. So the owners are now going to try to follow that model, put more money in their pockets, put less quality on the field, take as many losses as they can, and try to do it this new conventional way as opposed to paying the athlete. You and I always talk about the competitive balance, and we talk about attendance at Major League Baseball. You take the social issues aside that the NFL has had. Major League Baseball has the exact same problems.
Well, let's talk about a specific team. Okay. Pick one of the. I'll fight them off with you. Give me a team that has no chance.
Reds.
Okay, the Reds.
Cincinnati Reds.
Okay,
no chance. Atlanta Braves.
No, we'll do the Reds. The Reds. The Reds gave, now, as it turns out, with their payroll, it was a mistake. But if they lost them, they would have gotten in huge trouble. The Reds gave Votto how much money about 4 years ago?
Oh, I don't know. Was it the year he won the MVP?
$256 million.
Right.
Okay, so we are now going to pick on the Reds, who have a small market. I don't know what their TV deal is, but it's not humongous. Ballpark's nice, but it's Cincinnati now, small town.
Yep.
They gave Votto $256 million. Now, has it worked?
No.
What would you want the Reds to do then?
Well, and that's the issue. If you take every team and you dissect what mistakes and what they've done in the past, I will just contradict you with saying, look, in the 90s and the early 2000s, you had more of a competitive balance with these small market teams. Milwaukee used to be relative every year. Pittsburgh was relevant. Cincinnati, you can't sell me the small market because they were smaller market then than they are now.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh went 19 years and not doing anything. So they win.
I understand that, and they were literally on the edge there of really exploding into the scene a couple of years ago when they played the Cardinals in the playoffs and so on and so forth. And it looks to me like now Pittsburgh has given up. Because what they're doing is they threw all of their assets and they traded them all away.
Right.
And now they're just going to try to sit back and they're going to try to.
I think, Tony, I listen. I think you can sit there, and that's fair on Pittsburgh. I think you can sit there, and we can. I can give you a good answer on every team in the sport that does not have a chance, and it's more prevalent right now in the National League going into the year. And the National League, the Nationals, the Cubs, the Dodgers are all going to make the playoffs with divisional championships, and it's going to be a fight for two teams. In the American League, there are 4 teams that are going to make it. Cleveland, the 2 in the American League East, and Houston, and there's only 1 spot. But let's look specifically at the National League. All right? The Reds gave $250 million to Votto. Homer Bailey, they gave a ton of money to, over $100 million. Bailey's been a disaster. He never pitches. He's been hurt his whole career. The Reds overpaid. They've been burned. Votto's a hell of a player, but Votto is, he's a first baseman, great on-base percentage. He's a lone wolf on that team. And there are things I don't love about his game. He's a hell of a player, but, you're not going to win with one great player. Other than that, I don't know what you want the Reds to do. Their farm system is not produced. I'm assuming they have delved into their farm system and they just haven't gotten the players. And people have gotten hurt. They haven't found pitchers and what have you. The Pirates were good for a period of time. 4 or 5 years, 4 years. They played the Pirates, they played the Cubs in the playoffs, they played the Cardinals, the Pirates did, lost in a divisional series, lost to Arrieta once and Bumgarner once. Pirates had a chance about 3 years ago to get that big player to put them over the top, and the owner didn't want to do that. Sort of like Houston with Verlander. The Pirates, he came up a little short. They didn't have that great starting pitcher. Garrett Cole let him down. They got beaten the 5th game against the Cardinals 1 year. They lost 2 games to Arrieta and Bumgarner. It's not a crisis. Those are tough losses. And from there on in, that was the end of the Pirates. They got close. They realized that they weren't going to be able to re-sign their players to big contracts, so they try to reload. Pirates' issue is they didn't go for the guts, though, when they had a chance to. Right now, they're the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Marlins are a mess. They don't draw. It's a terrible baseball market. The stadium's in an awful location. Baseball should never, ever expanded to Tampa or Miami. They did it when they did in the 90s to get their money back from collusion. Remember, they lost those owners tons of money with collusion in the 80s. So to get a lot of their money back, they put teams in Tampa, they put teams in Miami, they put teams in Denver, they put teams in Phoenix, and the entry fee to join was a ton. That's how they got their money back. Miami was a complete mess. So was Tampa. I don't know what the solution is with Miami. They're never going to be a good team. They have their little moments, as they did twice. Somehow they won 2 championships out of it, but for whatever the reason, every model they try to follow, it never works. Tampa, same thing. Lousy ballpark. My point is, I can go through every single team, every market in the country that has been bad for a period of time, and I can explain why they are bad. I can explain it. and why spending money is a waste of time. Oakland, you want to go there? I mean, terrible ballpark. The Giants overwhelmed them in that market, especially right now at the new stadium that they have, which is a gem. The A's can't get a stadium. The city is broke. They just turned down a new spot to build a new stadium, baseball only. The city's lost the Warriors. They lost the Raiders. You'd think they'd take care of Oakland. They can't. Oakland doesn't have the money to build a stadium, which costs about $800 million, especially in that market, Bay Area. So Oakland's in a tricky spot. You know, they had a great run there for a long period of time. They never could get over the top. They always choked in big spots. That's why Billy Beane's not a Hall of Famer. But right now, you can't blame it on anybody. Oakland is spinning their wheels. They got some pitching. They got some young players. But until they get a new stadium, they got no chance. So there you go with Oakland. I mean, again, I could break down every single team if you want me to. I mean, the Braves, they had a long run of success. Recently, it hasn't been nearly as good. They finally got a new ballpark built. I think the Braves have a good farm system. The Braves eventually will bounce back. Phillies, same way. They're sitting on a gold mine of money. It's a huge market. They got a big TV contract. The Phillies are on their way back. Plus, the Phillies, between 2006 and 2011 or 12, were a good team. Won a championship, won another pennant. Lost to the Cardinals, lost to the Giants. Phillies had a good run, so you can't kill the Phillies. The point is, I can break down every single team for you right now that's not good and explain. San Diego can never get out of the wilderness. Seems like they made some progress. So, I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Kansas City had their run. They won a World Series. Now they regrouped. Minnesota can't get a big pitcher to pitch in Minnesota. Cold weather. It's a nonchalant franchise. I mean, it's not a sexy franchise by any stretch. No big pitcher wants to go there. They never have any pitching. Well, there you go. What do you want me to do? Go spend $1 billion on Darvish to watch him go 12-10? I mean, Kershaw's not going to Minnesota. So there are certain teams that they have issues. Jack in Houston, he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Jack, good afternoon. How are you today?
How are you? I think you do a great job.
All right.
I definitely wanted to give you my take on baseball.
Go ahead.
So I think with baseball, the way, and nobody really understands this, the whole deal with small market teams is based on the rookie contracts. This is how the Astros did it. You get 3-4 guys after tanking for 2 or 3 years. If you have a good GM, and they're all, if you get the right guys, that's the tough part, which the Astros obviously did. They nailed them. That's $600,000 for the first 3 years. You got Correa, you got Bregman, you got Altuve at $2 million a year, and you got Springer at $500,000. That's 4 $30 million players at $500,000.
Yeah, they were lucky. I mean, they found a play. You have to play 6 years to make the big money, and the Astros hit it. They had some trades. A couple guys were already there. Springer was a first-round pick. Correa was a no-brainer. You're 1,000% correct. They signed Gurriel out of Cuba. So I mean, they put together a great team. You're right about that. Go ahead.
But when you say Minnesota can't get any pitchers, you can't get anybody who's great, like a Verlander, or a Baumgartner, or a Kershaw. Forget Kershaw; he's already a Dodger. But any of the big guys at the end of their career, but towards the middle to the end,
well, you got to draft them.
4-year-old guys who are established. Until you have a team with, if Minnesota had Correa and Altuve and Bregman and all those guys at $500,000. They could get a Verlander. It has nothing to do with the location or the stadium.
They got to get, but see, like Houston.
Based on,
I understand that, but remember, Minnesota has to get good to attract the free agents. They can't attract free Jack. Right. They can't attract free agents to go to a team that wins 70 games. If they get great,
only six teams can do that. But that's not how you win baseball anymore. The way you win baseball, and the Astros have just showed you, and they're going to probably win again. I know you like the Yankees, and by the way, Darvish is not 12-10; he's 10-12. But at the end of the day, what really has to happen is you don't want to sign these expensive free agents. Unfortunately, Cincinnati did it 4 years ago before the Astros showed exactly how it's done, and that's why Miami's doing the way they're doing it. You've got to do it by the draft picks, unless you're one of the Bostons, the Yankees, San Francisco. They got money, obviously, too. And I don't know why, like you said, I couldn't agree with you more when you talked to Steve Phillips a week or two ago. Why on earth they would pay Hosmer? That's just a waste just to go 70 and 90 or whatever.
No, I think the Padres,
Jack, with one player.
But Jack, he's only 28. they have a bunch of players coming from that franchise. He's got 5 good years in him. He's a good player. Not great. He's a good, solid player. And they think, now I don't know enough about their farm system, but it's ranked the #1 farm system in the sport. They feel that their farm system is going to bring in a lot of players in the next 5 years, and those players are going to develop right when Hosmer's in his prime. And this was their chance to get Hosmer. They weren't going to get him again. That's why they signed Hosmer. I don't have a problem with San Diego with what they did there. He's 28 years old. He's not 32 and 33. He's 28. It's a very tricky spot for some of these franchises. I mean, nobody's going to Tampa. Nobody's going to Miami. Nobody's going to Minnesota. No pitcher wants to pitch in Cincinnati. They don't want to pitch there because it's an easy ballpark. Nobody's going to, Baltimore's a tough place to get pitchers. But if you really want to get good, Jack hit it right on the head. If you really want to figure out the formula, you want young players who develop fast, and you like a couple of them to be pitchers. Now, the Astros had Keuchel. You want young players, grow up quickly, couple of pitchers, and all of a sudden you put them all together and away you go. That's what you want. And if you don't have a ton of money. Now, if you have a ton of money, then you can really do everything you want. You can sign free agents, spend a ton of money in international pool stuff. Then you're in great shape. But again, for these franchises like the Reds, like Tampa, like Miami, to a certain degree Pittsburgh, the A's, if you're in the American League East with the Yankees and the Red Sox, I mean, certain franchises, they spin their wheels. The White Sox with the Cubs sitting there, it becomes very, very difficult to win. Very difficult. So I'm not sure how they get that solved. Here's Eric in Long Island, New York, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. He's a Reds fan. Eric, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing good, dog. Hey, listen, college basketball. I'm looking forward to seeing my alma mater, Buffalo, play tonight in the MAC. First-place team. I mean, this is a team that lost at Cincinnati by 6 points this year. Played Syracuse tough. I mean, this is a team that can do some damage come tournament time as a 12 or a 13 seed. So be interested to see if they can get by these 2 games with Kent State and then the Toledo, I think, Eastern Michigan winner. So
love to see it. I think Buffalo would be fun. They did make the tournament under Bobby Hurley a couple of years ago. That's how he got the Arizona State job. I like to see Buffalo is always, it's like a proving ground for coaches. You go to Buffalo and win, you can get a big job. But Buffalo, again, is pretty good. I don't know how many. That was 2 years ago they made the NCAA, right?
2015, 2016. So two of the last 3 years they were in the tournament.
Oh, they made it 2 out of those last 2 years. Okay, both.
This is the first time they were 1 seed in the MAC. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the pressure the next, tonight as a 10-point favorite, and even tomorrow night if they get to the championship game. But I'm looking forward to it. I do think Notre Dame should be in the tournament. Bonzie Colson's a great player. From what I've seen this year, they're a top 20 team when he's played. So they definitely have to be in, dog. And real quick comment on the NFL. I know you haven't talked about it today. I really like what the Eagles are doing here with Howie Roseman, getting Michael Bennett from the Seahawks. He got rid of Torrey Smith today, saved a little bit of money there. And I think the Browns, I don't know if you saw it come through in the last couple of minutes, but good job by the Browns bringing in Jarvis Landry from the Dolphins.
Oh, they did? Oh, I didn't see that.
Jarvis Landry just got traded to the Browns. So with drafting a quarterback and potentially getting Saquon Barkley, I mean, they could have a real good offense, and start getting things together in Cleveland.
I thought Miami was going to franchise Landry. What happened to that?
They did, but what they did is they franchised him. He signed his franchise tender, I think, at $15 million, and now they turned around and by him signing the tender, they can actually go ahead and trade him. So from what Schefter
what did they get for him?
It's 2 draft picks. I'm not exactly sure what. It just came down the wire. Schefter just reported it in the last 10 minutes or so. To have Eddie take a look at that, but I think the Browns are going in the right direction. If they can bring in Barkley and get a quarterback at number 4, I like the direction Cleveland's going in. You know that?
Listen, I don't disagree. Maybe they bring in McCarron too. Barkley, though, should be their top pick. Landry with Cleveland. They needed offensive personnel. Cleveland is getting better. I don't know when they're going to start turning it around, but they're not going to go 0-16 again. I can tell you that. We take a timeout. Update time with Dan Lang here on Mad Dog.